G'day folks, Chris McLean back again with another episode. And today in the studio, I have Joel Norton. He's an agency coach who empowers digital agency owners to create a purposeful business that lights them up and inspires their team, as well as growing and scaling high margin recurring revenue streams that create more money and more freedom in their business. All really good stuff that we want to get you to growing your business. Joel, thank you so much for joining me, mate. Good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no. Great to have you on. Always good to connect with other coaches and sort of understand what's going out in the world of agency. I know the audience for the show is largely agency owners, so it's always good to get insights from the mastermind, right, from the collective, what other people are going through, and we can help and steer people, get some insights into what's going on out there. So take us through your journey. You ran an agency and now you're a coach. Sort of how did this all come about? How did you end up as a coach and where did you begin?
Yeah, sure. So look, I've been in agencies really for pretty much 30 years. So I started in a direct marketing agency 2 weeks after I finished my HSC. And literally, it's the sort of the old advertising story. As the photocopy boy, well, that was basically me. I started in an agency, direct marketing agency, just doing odd jobs, basically, a work experience.
Yeah. Right.
And at the time, that business was about 8 people, and I stayed with that business for 12 years, and it grew up to about close to 50 people.
Yeah, well, cool.
And over that time, I just got promoted from the office junior through to worked in different parts of the business, to sort of production and in the studio, and spent most of my time really in account management. And then that agency was then bought by Leo Burnett, who's a large global advertising agency. And I stayed with the business for another 5 years during that period. And during that period, I ended up leading the Virgin Money credit card account. I launched Virgin Credit Card in Australia, won a whole host of awards overseas, got 3 gold lions and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then after that, I basically left. So after being in the agency game really for 17 years, I sort of had some time out and did some consulting for a period of time. But people that I had been working with, or I had worked with previously, I was getting approached by a whole bunch of people to say, look, will you come and work with me? Will you come and work with me? So the long and the short of it was I ended up doing, I did client side probably for about 12 months. And again, that was through somebody that had worked with me. But went back to agency life. That was really what I enjoyed doing. And worked as a managing partner for effectively a marketing analytics business, and built a whole new division around services related to marketing technology. And again, I was approached by somebody else I knew to come and start to run another division, and that ended up me being the CEO of an 8-figure marketing technology agency as well. So I finished there, worked there for about 4.5 years. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And so what time frame was this? Was this sort of pre-COVID? And when did the coaching sort of come out of that?
So I left. I finished I was that CEO role, or I left that CEO role in 2017, and then I went back to. What I really missed was actually doing some of the marketing stuff. So I went back and was doing consulting, working with a particular business owner for about 18 months. But what I realized, and during that time, both with the CEO, but also when I was consulting, I was working with a high performance coach. And one of the things I really realized was to tap in and understand a bit more about what made me tick. And the thing I really loved was actually working directly with business owners, and in particular, helping them find what they were passionate about. Because I was working with, over the years, I'd sort of work with business owners, and, some of them just really, quite often when you start a business, whether it's an agency or whatever business, you start it because you're good at something. Not necessarily because it's so you're a technician, if you like. So you're
good on the tools or the craft.
Exactly. So what I really loved doing was working with the business owners to actually help them sort of uncover more about themselves, which led them to being much more inspired by what they do every day. And that also then translates into having a really clear vision for the business, being really clear on what the mission for the business is, and also having values. And that in turn then inspires and motivates the teams. And that then obviously goes into helping you to grow and scale your business. So that's how I sort of morphed into, and I love doing the coaching side of it. So I was working as a consultant, marketing consultant for this one particular business, and was really a part-time business coach as well. And I love that side of it. So I decided, well, this is what I want to do full time, and stay in the area that I know really well, which is agencies. I've got all of that experience around understanding what makes agencies tick, and everything from creative agencies, marketing agencies, advertising to digital. But I'm really sort of focusing on the digital marketing, digital agencies, and helping them to grow and scale high margin recurring revenue streams. But importantly, as I said, sort of helping the owners get really clear on their vision and mission, which empowers the employees, which then comes back to full circle to allowing the owners to be able to step away a little bit more, and for them to have more freedom themselves from the business as well.
Yeah, love it. Love that. It's ideally where you want to get a business to, and where you want to be as a business owner, particularly in a creative service business like an agency, where you sort of the dream is to work on the business and not in it, right? That's where we sort of come into going, if only I had the time, or if I only had the structures or the systems or the people. So having someone that can come in and kind of give you those guide rails of, here's some system, here's some process, here's what to look out for along the pathway, and get you to that point that, as you said, you're making more money, but the business is actually a business and not a hobby. It's actually functioning by itself, and you've got that freedom to step up, and maybe it is get back on some of the tools, right? If that's the part that you love, or be on the front end of the business, the sales. Where do you find a disparity between where once agencies kind of get to that spot, that the agency owners, do they go back on the tools a lot of the times? Do they go back and get into the graphic design because that's what they're passionate about? Or do they sort of make that transition to CEO, entrepreneur, business owner, and sort of delegate out most of the craft stuff?
A bit of both. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to it's what's right for that owner, really. There's somebody I'm working with at the moment. They really want to. They already know that they want to work on some other things around sustainability, for instance.
Right.
But part of my job is really around trying to bring those things together, because quite often the owners will think, well, once I get this working, I want to go and do this. But rather than actually having that as something else, you can actually, if you can actually bring that in closer. So you can, for argument's sake, by specializing on a particular niche, there's no reason why that niche can't be that other thing that you want to be doing. And so you bridge the gap, and you can get to that place a lot faster. But I think part of the reason why business owners want to do something else is because that's what they're, whether you call it passion or whatever. But again, part of my role is really around helping get clear on what that is, so that you try and bridge the gap around those pieces. So it ultimately comes down to what's right for them. Some people will want to go and pursue something else, and other people will want to stay in the business but play a different type of role, whatever that might be.
Yeah, I think that's bang on. That's a critical thing, is to get that vision, that mission, like you're saying, that whether that's purpose, passion, some sort of big, massively transformative purpose, and really understand what lights my fire, right? What lights me up as a human being, and then how can I kind of catalyze that back into my business? And so rather than go ditching this and going off and doing something else over here, how can I bring that passion, that mission back into what I'm doing through the agency? And then I always see that sort of vision becomes it's like a decision matrix, right? It's like, here's the things that I'm about. I'm about this and this. If it doesn't fit in one of those two categories, then I'm saying no to it. Do you find that becomes like a decision model for people once they get really clear on that vision and mission?
Yeah, I call it your heart print, because it's tapping into what is true to you. And that's actually, and so for me, it's also around working with heart-centered businesses. So it's helping the owners get more attached to their heart and the business coming from the heart. And so, and by doing that, because that's a key piece around actually engaging the staff. Because more and more, when I was CEO, 80 or 90% of the people we were looking to attract, the staff we were looking to attract into the business, it was 60 people, 65 people across Sydney, Melbourne, and Singapore. the people we're trying to attract into the business, most of those were millennials. And one of the key things about millennials is that they really want to be part of something bigger. And the reason why they struggle in large corporates is it's because they're soulless and all the rest of it, and so they want to be part of something bigger. So whether that's obviously some of those millennials, so they're aged between 25 and sort of 40 years old now. Some of those are going to be agency owners as well. So it's not all about money for them. It's actually around how can I be connected to something that's bigger than me? So whether that's around a community or whatever else. So if you think that if you've got staff that are in that space, getting clear on your sort of vision and mission for the owner it's also about making sure that the staff are engaged, and how do you bridge the gap between what their goals are and aligning it. And that's where you get this beautiful piece of chemistry where the owner's really clear on what their vision and mission is. The staff are really engaged as far as what they're trying to achieve. It's not just about hitting a revenue number. It's actually, our mission is to do X, whatever that might be. And then that also then flows through into the customers. So the customers end up, love the staff are engaged. So they're doing awesome work. They're really customer friendly, all the rest of it. The customers then, long serving and profitable. It goes full circle. So that whole piece around purpose, vision, and mission comes through into the staff engagement and also the customers. Because I think one of the things that I see with some businesses think scaling is just purely around having systems or standard operating procedures or manuals and that sort of stuff. But to have it really, part of that plays a little bit of a role, but a big part of it is also around having deep alignment around everybody in the business around what you're trying to achieve. And that's when you start to have self-managing or self-correcting organizations because everyone's aligned around what your goal is what your mission is, but also your values around how you're going to do that and how you're going to bring that to the world.
I love that approach. And you're sort of starting to bake that autonomy back into your staff as well, right? We're saying this is where we're heading. This is your mission as well. If you choose to accept, right, this is where we're going as an organization. If you're going to be on board, let's bake this back into your goals as well as it. So you got your role as an employee, but there's kind of this sundry piece, which, as you're saying, a lot of millennials and Gen Zs, they don't just want to go to work and do the craft and have the job. They want to contribute. They want to contribute to, like you said, sustainability, or to penguins or dolphins, or better food or diversity, or they want that contribution from the heart outside of, here's my role and this is what I love to do for work. And as you said there, that perfect culmination of getting that baked into a vision that your staff can then engage with as well. Yeah. And so bakes right back through to, now you're attracting the right talent that's going to resonate with that, which makes work much more enjoyable because you're working with people that are like you, that you'd like to hang out with. You can have a conversation, right? Because you're the same type of person. But then you're also attracting clients that resonate with that energy, right, as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to have better client engagements, and then you sort of get to, the business becomes fun again. And I think without a lot of this, this is where agencies grow and scale, like you said, with systems and strategy, and they get all that stuff. Then they go, it's not fun anymore. I'm not enjoying it, because a lot of that piece is missing. Either their clients aren't who they'd rather be working with, or there's tension with staff and partners and all that kind of stuff. Do you find that's sort of the opposite side of this, when you don't focus on that? No, we sort of, as coaches, we talk about heart-centered and this sort of emotional stuff, and it can feel a bit weird for sort of hard-driven A-type agency entrepreneurs, like numbers, systems, process, and sort of stepping back and talking about heart and mindset, and this stuff can feel a bit woo-woo. But I think you'll agree with me that this is the critical stuff, and this is really how you build the capacity to scale, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it can be hard to sell that. Say when you the phrase, give people what they want, not what they need. So that's why for me, I generally lead, as far as my proposition, I lead with the fact that it's around helping agency owners to grow high margin recurring revenue streams.
Yeah.
And then part of the way I do that is around these other things that we're talking about. So that's what they want. They want to, they want to hit, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, whatever that is. They want those hard numbers. But part of my role is so I do that through, growing the agencies. That's really effectively around effective marketing and sales systems. Part of it's around scaling the organization to have greater impact. So that's around your business model, and a whole bunch of pieces around that. And then the third piece is around how they lead with purpose. So that's around elevating themselves as the CEO. That's around the vision and mission. It's around empowering and elevating their staff. And that's also around how you manage them. But as I say, I don't lead with the woo-woo stuff. It's very much around how do you grow and scale. They go, okay, I like that. And along the way, we work on these other pieces, and that's where the magic happens.
Yep. Yeah, I've found something very similar. Give them what they think they want, and then actually service them serve them by here's what it actually takes to achieve that thing that you think you want. And I think that's an important juncture as well. Is what you think you want? Do you actually want that thing? Do you actually want a $5-10 million agency?
Yeah,
right. Because that's a significant bit of conviction, and that's a different game to $500,000, $300K, earning enough just to have a good living. Very different games. So I think that's a critical thing as well. Is this the game I want to play in the first place? Yeah.
Well, I do see that with different people that that approach me about working with me. So some people will be, they'll say, look, I'll be happy at around $1 million. Other people say, look, I'm looking for, say sort of $3 to $5 million. And other people are very clear saying, no, I want this to be a $10 million business. But as you say, I think along the way, it's ultimately you're setting those numbers because you want to have a certain lifestyle, and therefore you need to be based on this margin. I need to have that sort of revenue to be able to achieve that. But if you can increase your margin and change your business in a way that actually allows you to do that in another way, then you don't always have to go there. But some people also want to sell their agency as well, which is why they want to grow it. So there's different reasons, but people generally sort of gravitate to a revenue number as far as what they're after. But I think that's good as far as having some direction and clarity around what do we need to try and do, because that then informs what systems do you need, or what's the right structure and that sort of stuff. But generally, as you get into it and we start introducing a different business model, which actually allows you to have the greater margin and the great ability to scale, then the vision starts to change a bit, which is fine. That's part of the journey.
Yeah. So in terms of sort of talk about multiple revenue streams and having multiple ways to make money in the agency and different models, what is the sort of high level? What does that start to look like for an agency that's maybe just coming off a sort of a more standard time for money type service, or a project basis, where a new client means a new delivery, a new everything's custom for every client? How do you start to move them away from that model to something that's more predictable and sustainable over time?
Yeah, so part of that, well, the first thing is really around getting clear on who you market, or who you service, because one of the biggest, you touched on before around agency owners or agencies are doing all this work, but they're not really passionate about it. And part of it is because they're being all things to all people. They're working with utilities, telcos, airlines, e-commerce stores, whatever. This vast range of government of industry verticals, and they're also doing a whole range of different services. They're doing creative, they're doing Google ads, they're doing social ads, they're doing social media, they're doing content marketing. So initially, it's really around saying, well, let's focus on one particular niche where we've got great results, we know we can do great work, and also it's something that I want to work with, and they're willing to pay. So part of that journey around being able to generate new revenue streams and being able to scale is actually effectively trying a minimum viable product, an MVP, where you can just say, we're going to target this particular niche with these select number of services. And really that's around how do we package that up into a solution? That's the first step. The next step is then saying, well, over time, can we shift some of that from being custom one-to-one, done for you services, to how can we possibly transition some of that into a one for many? So that could be around the way you do your strategic services. It could be around the way that you do some of your training. There's a few different models, but again, it comes back to, there's no one size fits all, because it ultimately comes down to what's right for this agency and this owner, because some of them love to be involved in the implementation and execution, like we talked about before. They like to be on the tools, whether they're doing it themselves or their team's doing it, because they love to see things through to execution. Like for me, I loved, I'm very results orientated, so I love seeing something from start to finish and getting those results. For other people, they're happy doing something a little bit different because they don't have to have that full execution piece. So ultimately, it's a bit dependent on them, but the starting point is very much around, let's narrow out our focus to a particular niche and narrow our services as well, and try and just focus that, because simplifying things actually makes it easier to scale. It's one of those weird sort of dichotomies, right, of do less, get more, do more with less, which is something I talk a lot about. But that niching and even hyper niching is really where, sort of, from all of the agencies that I've had on the show that I work with, you see that narrowing of focus when you can. I mean, divergence good to begin with, right? Go out, and when you're getting started, it can be helpful to try different niches and different industries and different verticals and different services, just to kind of understand, like, what do I actually like to do and who do I actually like to work with. So there is a place for that kind of divergence, but at some point you've got to converge it back down and focus to, right? Now we know it's real estate or cars, and we're going to do SEO because that's what we're great at, and that's where we get the results. And you can sort of say, you can niche in terms of service and product of the thing that you do, or you can niche in the industry or the vertical, or both. Correct.
So I think it's a really, really important thing to eventually do more with less, scale, simplify. And sort of once you get clients down to that simplified, okay, we're doing this one thing for this one group, how do you find that creates scale? Is it just they become expert in that thing? Because it can be that weird thing of, well, I'm serving less people, right? It's a narrower market. There's going to be less people. There's more competition. All that kind of stuff kind of comes in, but it tends to actually be the reverse. You sort of speak to that component of actually getting focused rather than going broad, and how that actually creates scale and growth. Yeah,
absolutely. So if you use that example of doing SEO, if you're doing SEO for a particular audience, and that's all you're doing, then it's much easier to scale your operations around that than as opposed to we're doing SEO and website development and content marketing and all these other things, because all of a sudden you've got more people and types of skills that you need within your organization. You've got different functions and techniques that you've got to then do, that you've got to have systems and operations around as well. So it's adding complexity. So it's actually much easier to scale when you've got fewer services to a particular niche. Now, at a later date, once, if you've built that to $5 million or whatever, then you might start adding, okay, well, these customers would benefit from these other services. So you can start to add some of those things in later, but certainly the starting point is around the simplifying your offer and your services. But at first glance, people are a bit hesitant because they feel like, that's going to reduce my capacity. But
it's going to be limiting somehow.
Yeah, but it's the reality is it's not. I mean, look at us. We're both focusing on the niche of agencies. I think you focus a bit more around sort of the creative marketing space. My focus is more around digital. But every call I have with somebody who's looking for a coach, when I say why are you talking to me? They say, because you know agencies, digital agencies. And it's the same with the agencies talking to somebody else. It changes the conversation from what are you struggling with most now to saying, well, actually, I know what your problems are. Your problems are this, this, and this, and this is the solution.
Yeah. I think that you've hit the nail on the head there, that when it starts to work is get that expertise right? So if I'm a Facebook specialist for car detailing companies, when a car detailing company goes, I want to run Facebook ads, who's the guy that knows Facebook ads for car detailers? It's Jim. I only go see him because he's going to know exactly what I do. He's going to know the pain points, the challenges. And another place I see it working really well is people that have literally come out of that world. Right, I used to be a window cleaner, or I used to run a window cleaning company, and then COVID hit, and I learned how to build websites, and now I build websites and I do graphic design in web for window cleaners because they know the pain points. They can speak to that specific. Hey, I used to clean windows. Don't you hate getting up at 6 a.m. and not knowing where the next client's coming from? You can start to bake that genuine, real expertise and pain and challenge points into your marketing, which is where really that's where you can also get that scale and leverage of being the go-to in a hyper specific niche. And,
I know a couple of people who've done that. They've come from being a financial advisor, or two people in the sort of that financial advice sort of space where one guy has a business, like financial advice business with it's doing probably 8 figures, and he's got so many staff, but he's actually set up now an agency taking those learnings to help and target mortgage brokers and other people in that space to say with exactly that he knows exactly what they need, what the pain points are, and servicing that. And another guy has just started doing a similar thing as well. So absolutely. It's probably, I think in the US, you see that a bit more often. There's people that do focus on real estate or dentists or lawyers. I think generally another thing that agencies are bad at, we talk about widgets. I do SEO or I do Google ads or whatever. But it's actually saying, well, actually the result is I do lead generation. I get you X amount of leads every month. Because the customer doesn't care really about SEO or Google ads or whatever. What they want is I need so many more leads, and I need to be able to close those, and I need to generate X amount of money. I'm prepared to spend $5,000 a month, but in return I need X amount in sales.
It's got benefits and value, right? You got to lead with what's in it for me as the customer. I'm going to give you, like I said, if I give you $5,000 and I get a couple of leads off the back end, that's not a great proposition for me. Even if it's whatever the tactic or technique is. If I give you $5,000 and you give me 50K in booked appointments off the back end every month, I'm going to stay with you for life because I'll do that every month for the rest of it. I put 5 in and get 10 out, 15 out. That's good money, right?
Exactly right, because they've got all of those. They've got SEO people targeting them. They've got Google Ads people targeting them. They've got social people, and they're all promising the same thing. So I can get you more leads. So if you can be that's where it comes back to, as you said, you experiment with a few different niches and services, and you find out where's your sweet spot. Who do I love working with, and where can I get really great results? And then you just really focus on that. So I know I can work with real estate agents, and I can, with X spend, I can generate this much revenue for you. It makes it a really, really simple marketing message and a really simple sales process.
Yeah. And I think the beautiful thing is that we kind of tie this whole episode together. If you get that right, and then you get the vision and the mission and that heart-centered, that who I am and how I show up, that energetics, if you like, that energy will attract people within that niche who are like you and resonate with you and want to work with you because they go, Joel's a cool looking dude and I like his vibe and I want to work with him instead of Chris. They might be offering the same exact service, same price, but I'm going to pick one over the other just because I feel like I like that guy. I like that girl. There's that energetic connection. So that's the importance, again, of getting that. If there's a lack of congruency coming from me into the market, it gets cloudy, and I'm going to miss out on that opportunity to actually attract people that I love to work with because they just like me. They are like me, and that trust and that's going to come out as well. So I think that's you get those two things right. That's where you build a pretty cool business that you actually love to run.
Absolutely, and you have to your point, you have to inject a bit of your own personality into your marketing and what you're doing because people are buying you as the owner and the personality. And as you say, we offer similar services, but some people are going to gravitate towards you and some people are going to gravitate towards me. And some people might gravitate to some of your other guests or other coaches you had, and that's cool. But I think that the market's big enough, and it's a bit like whether you like Tony Robbins or Dr. John DeMartini or Brendan Burchard or whoever it might be, everyone will gravitate towards whoever. They offer similar things, but there's slight nuances and they like a particular personality. So it's the same in our space.
Yeah, you like Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone, very different personality types, and they're going to resonate with very different people. But
Absolutely.
It's such an important thing to recognize that there. I mean, if you can find 1,000 people that like what you do, that's a pretty good business, right? You can build a pretty good business off 1,000 people that know, like, and trust you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it doesn't take millions and millions of followers and fans and engaged customers to build a solid business, particularly, and say, once you get that front bit right, and then you can, again, leverage systems and process to get a customer in and then service that customer for a longer period over a longer lifetime as well.
Yeah.
And you want
life is short. You want to be working with people that you like working with. So if you're injecting some of your personality into what you're doing, that gives those people an opportunity to say, yeah, I really like this guy, this person. I want to work with them. And then you get this, it's a great blend, and magic happens.
Yeah. I think it can also, there's a bit of redundancy built into that as well, right? If things go off rails a little bit, I think when you come kind of from that place and it's a bit more resonant, you can kind of deal with stuff. A client might get pissed off at you, but they go, look, it's all right. I'm more emotionally connected to this person rather than this guy's just doing me a service. They're a service supplier, screw them, they stuffed up. There's a bit of that redundancy that sort of gets baked in because it's a genuine relationship at that point, right? It's more of a human relationship. So there's a bit more leeway in that client relationship then. They made one mistake, screw them, I'm going to get rid of them because I'm paying money for a result. I'm now invested in a relationship. So you bake a bit more leeway into it.
That ultimately comes from trust, right? So whether you've built up trust and that trust goes both ways, then yes, there's a bit more leniency around that. And ultimately, I've been in situations where that's happened, but when you're open and honest with the customer about something, then actually the relationship strengthens and they become a better client.
Yeah.
So, that's ideally what you want.
Yeah. So it's kind of cliche, but we're humans working with humans, right? And business is a human endeavor.
Yeah.
It's it can be easy to forget that and forget that we're working with humans. We're human. We want to tap into that kind of human component, whether it's ourselves, our staff, and our customers. And the more we can do that, the more we enjoy our business, but the more we get to connect with people that are like us and that like us. And it's
absolutely.
Much better place to operate from.
Yeah. So it all comes back to having clarity on what your purpose or passion about it is, and therefore what's your vision and mission within for the organization. Yeah.
Love it, Joel. Thank you so much for dropping by, mate. Really good stuff. If people want to find out more about you, connect with you, where's the best places for them to come and do so?
Then go to my website. So it's just joelnorton.com, and LinkedIn's the best the next best space really. So linkedin.com is / digital agency coach.
Beautiful. So if you resonated with Joel and you found some value in what he's saying today, there's some really good insights for wherever you're at in your agency journey, having someone that can just help you work through some of this stuff. So if you're a digital agency and you're looking for that kind of help and Joel resonates with you, get in touch. I'll drop all of those links in the show notes so you can smash the links and go get connected. Joel, thanks so much for swinging by. It's been a pleasure having you here. Lots of value.
No worries at all. Thank you very much for the invitation. I really enjoyed the chat. So thanks, Chris.
My pleasure. So always good to sort of hear what's going out in the industry and creating a space where agency owners can come in and kind of get some free advice and sort of free coaching on where they can look at just sort of making those shifts to get that growth and that scale in their businesses that might be a little unexpected from what they're thinking about a new shiny object or a new system or a new strategy. There's some other stuff that works really well as well.
Absolutely, yeah. All right.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Joel, so much for being here. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Cheers.